Alrighty, hey, what's up, you guys? Welcome back to another video of maybe, hopefully, probably a series, which is Man Yaps About X while playing incel game. This is, the video's topic is something that I was requested to do at work that I was just sort of like, oh, this is bad, a bad indicator of the economy, and just sort of something that should generally be talked about. I've recorded this video before, but I didn't change any of the audio settings, so my game was absurdly loud and you just couldn't hear me. So this is actually my third time recording this video, but I still think it's something important to talk about, so I'm going to talk about it again. So what happened was, I was at work a couple days ago now, but when I first, oh well. Also, I'm not editing this video. I don't care enough to. All of my videos, except for the cousin videos, are just gonna be me yapping because, clear divide between very edited video because I do like video editing, and just me yapping because I also like yapping without needing to think about how I'm gonna format what I said. Anyway, so I work at Staples, which is, not like a super, like, I want to say necessary store. Like, we sell paper and pens and things like that, and things that people do use and need, but it's not like necessities, and it's not like food items. So, keeping that in mind, when I was at work a few days ago, my task was to redo the price tags on a bunch of items. So that's not usually my job because you need to come in early in the morning to do it, and it just usually doesn't end up getting given to me because I'm still in school. So 5 days a week I cannot come in the morning, and I don't work Saturdays either. So there's only one day a week that I actually can come in early, and that's Sunday. So most of the time they end up doing it any other day of the week. So it's not my job. So it's just not something I've ever really done before. I've done promo item tags, which is like, specialty things. I've done like sales and deals and whatever, but I've never actually gone through and redid the item tags. This is something that my store does fairly regularly, I think. And but yeah, it's just never been my job, and I've never paid too much attention to it. But when my manager texted me and just said, "Hey, can you come in early on Sunday? I have a bunch of tags that we didn't get out. Like, I want to get them out. I don't know if he said like we were trying or whatever. We want to get these item tags out. Can you come in and help?" And I was like, "Sure. That's not something I usually do, but like, I know how to do it." So I went in early and started doing these item tags. And so, well, okay. I walk in and I see two very thick stacks of paper, and each piece of paper contains 18 item tags. So it was me and my one coworker, well, my one, like, higher up coworker, I guess. Like, she's manager-ish, but not the manager. Not relevant. So, there's two very big stacks of item tags. We each take a stack. I counted how many were in my stack. It was 35 sheets of paper, each containing 18 item tags. And so that was about 600 total items, or total item tags, that I had to replace. And all of these were price changes for the items. And so I start doing the tags. It's kind of mindless. But after a little bit, I start realizing that these price hikes are pretty significant. So again, I have 600 tags to get through during this shift. I got through almost all of them. I think it was like, I put out 500 that shift, and the remaining 100 were put out the next day. And then my manager also did about 500. These are 1,200 total price increases. And what I started realizing was that each price increase was like 10, 15, even up to 20% of a price hike. And the reason I didn't realize that right away was because these items aren't super high priced in the first place. But if you think about it, like say an item is $5, that's not very expensive. But if that price goes up to $5.50, that's a 10% price hike. If it goes from $5 to $6, that's 20%. And it doesn't feel like a lot when you're thinking of it like 50 cents and a dollar. But you think about, like, you have to think about the fact that people don't just go into a store and get one item, you get several. And you might not notice the price hikes of the individual items because a lot of the prices, specifically the ones that we changed, are very like low value items, I guess. Like, it's not like we're selling something for cheap and it's $5. It's like, I don't want to say like a single pen because that's absurd, but like a lot of the items that I was replacing there were a bunch of cleaning supplies. Um, there were a couple of things for like tape for label makers. Like again, you have to remember this is Staples here. And then there was something. A lot of it was like cleaning supplies though. So that's like think of like Windex or bleach or just like wipes. Things like toilet paper. So like these things aren't really that expensive. But they are the more necessary objects. Like I don't know, marking up every single trash bag price was like it's not like an essential like super necessary item, but it still like kind of feels bad. And again, these things are not that expensive in the first place, but when you go from $20 to $22, that's a 10% price increase. If you go from $20 to $24, that's a 20% price increase. And again, you don't feel it on the individual items. You don't even think about it on the individual items. So I feel like it's a predatory price increase because people don't really notice it. But when you go to the checkout, all of a sudden your cart is 10, 15, 20% more expensive. Like this shopping trip was 10, 15, 20% more expensive than you thought it was going to be. And most of the price tags hovered around 10 to 15%. I don't think there was a single one that was less than 10%. And very few actually hit 20%, and I don't think any went over. But they really hovered around that 10 to 15%. And again, it's not that much money when you're not dealing with something super huge. Like when you're dealing with individual items, small figures, you don't feel it, you don't notice it. If I'm buying an object that I regularly buy, because a lot of the customers at Staples are regulars, because there really aren't like there's a very specific type of person that goes to Staples, and then every once in a while you get like a student that comes in to buy some stuff for class. But it's like these middle-aged business owners for the most part, or just like office workers. That's the type of people that or like older people who don't really know how to use online shopping, so they come in and do all of their shopping in person, so they just need like ink and paper for their printer, so they'll come in, and so I again I feel like it's I'm trying to think of what I want to say. So the again, if you're regularly buying, say, paper, I'm thinking of like just the default paper. The cheapest paper that we have is about $5 per ream of paper. So that's just like the container of paper, the like pack of it. Um, and but the thing is, I don't know exactly, like, if that went from $5 to 550, I wouldn't notice. If I was a customer buying that every time I need paper, like if I came into Staples because I want to go to a physical store every time I need paper, I'm not going to think about the fact that it went from $5 to 550 or the fact that it went from 550 to $6. And the fact that I don't even know which one it is. I just know it's around $5. But the difference between $5 flat, like, or if it's $4.99 versus $5.99, that is a 20% difference. That's important. Like, it's just, the important thing is that you feel it in your entire basket. You feel it when you go to the checkout and you didn't realize that these items got more expensive, but all of a sudden your total goes from $100 to $120. And then you feel that $20. Or you have $200 and now it's $240. You feel that. That's money, you know? Um so um and why I feel like this is super significant. Well, okay, not just the fact that there are these price hikes, but the fact that these price hikes are relatively regular as well. I don't know exactly how regular because this usually isn't my job, but I noticed about halfway through when I was putting them out that that most of the price tags that I was replacing had a date printed on them for when they were originally printed. So like I was like the when the tags that I was replacing were originally put there. Um, I expected these to be older tags. You know, I expected them to be like, you know, they've been there for a while, so they're gonna hike up the prices because like they do that every once in a while. Sure, whatever. That's like how businesses operate. Um, but I want to say like a solid 90% of all of the tags that I replaced were originally printed within the last 9 months. From October 2023, it's currently May 2024, so that was 7 or 8 months ago. Um, all of almost all of the tags that I'm replacing had been placed there within this school year, and now it's being marked up 10 to 15%. These are the original tags. This isn't like promo stuff. This isn't deals that are happening and not happening. This is just the base price of the item going up 10 to 15%. 10, 15, 20%. But I don't like most of them were 10 to 15%, you know. Um and the like the real kicker for that is my employee discount is 10% and they made me mark up 1,000 items in the store up 10%. So now all I'm going to think about is anytime I buy an item there, I'm like, it's hardly even an employee discount because these items are just marked up so much and I'm just getting overcharged anyway that like it's not a discount at that point. Because also I feel like it's known to me that Staples is just generally overpriced. People complain about it all of the time. I can't even tell you how many customers come into the store looking for an item. They find the item, but then they see how expensive it is and they just go, I'm just going to get this on Amazon because this is way too expensive. This is completely overpriced. Um, and they continue to mark up the prices despite that. Like, even though they're actively losing business because their prices are already so high, they continue to mark it up 10, 15, 20% in just a few months. And I don't like I want to say it's corporate greed, but it feels like self-destructive corporate greed. It feels like you're just losing customers on purpose almost because this just isn't a sustainable business strategy. And I know like I think what's happening is they're seeing sales slip a little bit. So their response to that is to spike prices instead of lowering prices because that's how like the law of supply and demand is supposed to go. Like the basic principles of business are when you have a lot of supply and not a lot of people want to buy it, you lower the prices. When you have very few items and a lot of people want to buy it, you raise the prices. That's like the essential bit of business. Like that is the law of supply and demand. That's how things work. Um but for some reason they're saying, we're losing customers, so we're losing a bit of demand, so we're going to raise the prices. And what's actually happening is they're losing customers, but I think they're just assuming that they have these specific customers like locked in and they're not going to go anywhere else because these people that don't really like understand Amazon enough to use it don't want to switch off from using Staples even though it's getting more expensive. These business people that still continue to use it for some reason. I don't shop at Staples. Don't do it. It's not beneficial for anyone. It is like a bad company, and it's overpriced. Um, because okay, so I'm marking up these prices by 10, 15, 20%, right? This is just within the span of a couple of months. These prices are going up that much. When I get a yearly raise, it's a 2% raise. Or at least that's what happened last year. I'm nearing one again this year. Um, but I get a 2% raise per year for working there. And in theory, a 2% raise should be fine because inflation is supposed to be, in theory, 1 to 2% per year. That's not really how it works anymore. I think it's much more than that. But like, the idea was keep inflation at 1 to 2% per year and then give people that work at businesses a 1 to 2% yearly raise to keep up with that because we print more money and put it into the economy, which I still don't really understand, but it's probably just something to do with, oh, we want the numbers to go up. If we print more money, then the numbers always go up, but as long as we don't print too much at once, they're not gonna, like, be unstable. Um, man. I don't know. I don't get it. That's what I, like, guess. But so inflation is going up more than that. But I would argue it's not quite at 10, 15, 20% quite yet. That is far outpacing inflation, and at that point, it's just corporate greed. Because I'm not seeing any of it as a worker there. I'm not, like, making more money because Staples as a brand is making more money or anything like that. I don't... Because they're marking up their prices by 10, 15, 20%. I'm getting a 2% per year raise. And like that makes it unsustainable to even just shop at the business that I work at. I can't afford 10, 15, 20% price hikes without a 10, 15, 20% increase in my wages, which should proportionally come if you think about it. Like, regardless of the reason that they're hiking the prices, I should also get a pay increase. So, like, if they're saying, okay, we're upping prices because the materials to make these things are getting more expensive, like, international trade relations are strained, so it's a little bit more expensive to produce this item that used to be cheaper to produce, so we're going to raise prices. Okay. But working for your business, I am also a person that needs to buy things. And so if, say, the international relations are strained and this means that prices are more expensive for certain items, things are going to be more expensive for me too. You know? Like, I'm also going to feel 10, 20, 30%, or not 30, 10, 15, 20% price increases in the other goods and services that I purchase. And the idea of being given a yearly raise is so that, like, okay, assuming you're working like a corporate job, right? You're not getting these massive raises every year. Like, you're not, I don't know, you're not getting like crazy bonuses and like a completely different salary every year. That's not how it works. Um, it's just a slight raise so that, you know, the cost of living has gotten a little bit more expensive as inflation has gone up throughout the year. So I'm going to give you a little bit of extra money as, you know, a thank you for working at our company for a little bit. You know, hopefully it outpaces inflation a little bit. Um, and we're going to increase it by at least the percentage that um, inflation, you know, inflated the prices. Like, we're going to at least up your wages by 1 to 2% per year so that you can maintain the current standard of living that you have with these wages. And I think that's the most important thing, is that these wages are this way, or like the raises happen this way. Oh, yeesh. Um, so that you can maintain the current standard of living, or the standard of living that you have had. Okay, I don't want to list out a salary because I am 18 years old. I have not entered the proper workforce yet. I have in my mind what a good salary is, but I really, I'm not going to start listing out numbers. Um, but if you make X amount per year, right? You delegate a certain percentage of what you make to like your rent, food, other goods and services that you consume. Like, a lot of the time, your standard of living is determined by like, well, okay, you spend a certain percent of your income on the goods and services that you consume. And if these goods and services become more expensive and your income stays the same, you can't afford to keep living the same way that you do. That was an awful way to explain it. So think about if you, okay, just to make the math easy, say you make actual minimum wage. Like, say you make $7.25 an hour. And I didn't mean to. Okay. Say you make $7.25 an hour. And after work, every day, you decide that you're going to go out and get fast food after work, and your meal happens to equal $7.25 an hour. Don't do that. That's a terrible, like, I don't know, terrible financial stuff. But let's just say you deemed it worth it to work for 8 hours for $7.25 an hour, and then spend $7.25 right after work on getting food, right? Um, that means you spend 1/8 of your income on that specific like that specific instance of getting food, right? 1/8 of your income for the day. Um, if, say, over the course of a period of time, that food place decides to increase their prices to have that same meal now cost $7.50. Now let's say you're still making $7.25 an hour. Now it takes a higher like percentage of your income to buy this item. If your wages get increased to also be $7.50 an hour in about the same time frame, then even though the price went up and your wages went up, the net percentage of your income that you are using stays the same. And that's like, a really simple example, and like an example that I like. But when it comes to something like, I guess like okay, let's just say rent, because a lot of people, like, rent can go up, or you can change locations, and so your rent isn't necessarily always going to be a fixed rate, um, just because of the fact that you can move around and whatnot. So, and I also don't rent, so I don't know how it works. It also might just change. Like, your rent goes up sometimes. Um, but like, if now we're thinking about rent, and now we're thinking about, okay, I make, again, I don't want to list a number per year because I don't have a good grasp on what these, like, $100,000 a year, $50,000 a year. I don't have a good grasp on, like, what I know. $100,000 a year is a lot. Is $50,000 a year a little? Is it in the middle? I don't know. I don't. Um, but um, let's just say you made $50,000 a year. Yeesh. Okay, let's just say you made $50,000 a year, and your rent is $2,000 a month. Are these reasonable numbers? I don't know. But let's just say, right? Or okay, let's just say $1,000 a month because I feel like 2,000. I don't know. Okay, so you make $50,000 a year. Your rent is $1,000 a month. That means over the course of a year, you spend $12,000 on rent. What percentage of your income is that? Like 25%. Now let's say your rent goes up to $1,500 per month. Even just $1,100 per month. That adds an extra $1,200 to the end of the year. And I kind of rounded to get that 25%. But like, it's going to be a higher portion of your income. And if that $50,000 a year stays the same and doesn't change, then now your rent is a higher portion of your income. If food costs go up, that's a higher portion of your income. It can't really keep up. You can't maintain the same standard of living and buy the same things that you could, because you need to continue, like, as the price of everything goes up, you need to get increasingly lower quality items that cost the same amount that the higher quality items did. Okay. So, like, say, I used to get the meal for $7.25. But then, prices have really increased, and now that meal is $10. Well, I can't afford $10 on a meal after work. So, what I'm gonna do instead is get a smaller meal that um that only costs $7.25 an hour. So now I'm getting less food, or not $7.25 an hour. A meal that only costs $7.25, because now, to maintain the same percentage of your income being spent on those certain things, those things need to be of lower quality. Does that make sense? I feel like it makes sense in my head, but it's hard to explain, and I feel like I explained it better in my last video. If only I could hear myself at all. Oh well. So, anyway, in theory, the prices of items and wages are supposed to go up at the same rate. I feel like that's a pretty basic concept that, like, that no one's arguing against that, I don't think, except for, like, the actual CEOs of big companies. And even then, they don't really have a great reasoning. But what I'm saying is, I am directly seeing that not happening, because I am directly seeing price increases in one go being upped 10, 15, 20%, and over the course of an entire year my wages only being increased 2%. Um so it's horrible to see it. It makes me upset. Um but what I find like ironic about it is that the main argument against raising minimum wage, because again this is 2024 currently, but I don't think it'll change anytime soon. The federal minimum wage is only 7.25 an hour. Um, that's not a livable wage, but people argue that we can't raise it because if we raise the price, or if we raise the minimum wage, the prices of items will increase. Um, like the prices of fast food and like normal, I don't know, like just retail stores, like the stores that operate on a day-to-day basis and people just sort of stop in for like staples, right? If we increase the federal minimum wage, then the prices of all of these stores will increase because now they need to spend more money on their workers, so now they need to make more money with their products, and so um, the prices increase. But the prices are increasing anyway. Like, these price hikes are happening without the wage increase. So, I can we please increase the minimum wage because like it's happening anyway. The price increases are entirely happening anyway. Worse than they would have like it's just corporate greed at this point because it's worse than it would be just purely like like to compensate for paying workers more. This is like once a month that you up it 10, 15, 20%. Something's wrong there, dude. Like that's not people can't afford that. So, I don't know. And my theory as to why, like, okay, yes, it's corporate greed and they want more money and they don't want to pay their workers for, um, like, they don't want to pay their workers more because the people are working there for $12 an hour. I make $12 an hour. People are working there for $12 an hour. Why would they pay them 15 when they can just continue paying them 12? Why would they keep the prices low when they can raise the prices and people will go there anyway because the type of people that shop at Staples don't really shop around for the best deal because Staples is really never the best deal. Um like and that's true, but my response to that is honestly, okay, but why like now? Because I feel like this extreme wage gap has only been very recently. And I mean, part of it is probably just the dawn of the internet and that just sort of taking everything over and like um a lack of, I want to say like not an entire lack of brand loyalty, but when I think of like before the internet, I think of like people that own stores had a more personal relationship with their customers. Um, and people could trust the quality and like fair pricing of certain stores because they actually had like a relationship with the owner to like have that trust in like a human connection. And with the internet, that kind of went away, or like the dawn of online shopping, that kind of went away. Um, so I feel like that's part of why businesses just sort of started to go crazy in like not fairly compensating their workers and raising prices and like just sort of losing that what do I want to say? Like there was a sense of accountability for like if I do something unethical, my consumers will notice and care. And now that everything's so, like, I don't even know whether to say, like, centralized or decentralized, but now that everything is so privatized, now that everything is so, like, niche and you can just shop around 100 different stores in the same sitting if you really wanted to with the internet, um, that sense of accountability for, like, how the workers are treated, what the quality of the product is, what a fair price for a product is, like, the trust is kind of gone, so they have more freedom to just sort of do unethical things. And I feel like also a part of it, especially recently, is that there isn't all that much genuine innovation. Like, not a lot is changing right now in the realm of, like, creating new items. Like, AI is happening, and AI is a whole nother conversation. Um, but, like, Staples has nothing to do with AI, you know? Um, they've got nothing actually, like, driving their um there's nothing that would actually be driving a year over year increase in sales, year over year increase in profit. There's nothing that, like, keeps people, or, like, there's nothing that justifies them continually making more and more money year over year. But of course, they want to make more money year over year. So previously the solution to that was always, okay, find the next best thing and sell it, you know? Establish a brand and make yourself super well known, make more stores, do, things like that. But Staples is already a pretty, like, deep set brand. I think most people think Staples when they think school or office supplies. Like, they're pretty they're pretty established. There isn't really any innovation to be made in the space, but they still want the numbers to go up. So the only way to do that is to either attract more customers, which is difficult, specifically for Staples because a lot of people are, like, working from home and their main target audience was office workers. Um, and, a lot of school supplies are going digital as well. Like, a lot of my school stuff currently is just on a Chromebook instead of, like, a whole. Like, I mean, I have, of course, like, paper and pencils and whatever, like a binder and, like, it. I still have the school supplies, but it's not as crucial as it used to be. But they still want to be making profits, so they can either expand what they've been doing, but that takes time and effort, or they can just raise their prices and hope that their entire audience stays, which is the route that they've opted for. Because, yeah, you do make money year over year if you keep selling the exact same number of items, but continually more and more expensive. Um, I just, like, that's my bad. Um, but I don't like it. It feels very like I'm at the end of progress, I guess, which is very disheartening for someone who's, like, just going to college, like, I'm entering the real world and I want to um have an effect on, like, I want to make something. And I feel like there really isn't any space to make new things. I feel like everything's really already been established and nothing's really changing. Um but that's why I think businesses are especially really trying to push their margins, because they want the number to go up, They want their stock price to go up. They want, like, year over year increases. But they're not making the necessary innovations to do that because there isn't much innovation to be made. So their solution is to just increase the prices at a crazy rate because that's what gets you money, I guess. But no one can really afford this. Like, no one can afford the prices going up like that. So it's all just going to crash and burn soon enough because people can't afford it. People aren't just going to keep infinitely buying these things. Like, if wages never go up, no one has the money to buy these now more expensive items. So the items aren't going to get bought. So no one is going to make money. It's going to be a negative feedback loop. Because no one's going to be able to make money, and then... Okay. It's like, no one makes money, no one spends money, no money... It's just gonna be a depression. But they're inflicting it on themselves, and it's so predictable. It's so clear how it's gonna go. And yet, like... I don't know. So, it's making me upset because I am watching these prices. I am being tasked to increase these prices in real time. Like, this is 10, 15, 20% in one go. That's absurd, dude. And my wages are not increasing to, like, not like, what was I gonna say? I got distracted because I am killing too many minions. Oh. Anyway. I don't, it's just, because, okay. My solution to my wages not increasing and the, price of everything else increasing is, okay, to survive then, I need to invest in the stock market, because if I invest in, like, if these businesses are doing everything they possibly can to make these numbers go up, then surely they're going to, like, the stock price is going to go up. They are fighting, like, with everything that they have in them to make this stock price go up. It's the only thing that they care about. So, like, if the only thing that they care about is stock price going up, then I should be safe to assume that the stock price will continue going up, right? That's, like, investing my money is the best way to, like, still make money, or still, like, profit off of something that's meant to squeeze all of the value out of me. But now I'm, like, it's just going to enter a negative feedback loop. And then they're not going to be making money either. No one is going to be making money. It's just going to be a depression, and then we have to start again. Or not start again, but, like, it's just going to be a depression, and then everyone loses. And then we have to build it back up. And it's so preventable. I'm 18 years old. I'm freshly out of being a kid. And I can see how this is... why are the CEOs continuing this when it's so clearly going to backfire on everyone, including them? You lose money when no one has money, buddy. That's how it works. When no one can buy your products, when you don't pay your workers enough to afford your products, no one is going to buy your products because they can't afford it, even if they want it. And then everyone loses because the consumers don't get items and they don't get a good standard of living, and their standard of living continuously just decreases because they make proportionally less money to their necessary expenses. And then the businesses don't profit either because no one is buying their stuff. No one wins. everyone loses. And I'm like watching this happen in real time. And I am trying to be as wise about my money as I can because I do realize I am 18 years old. And like, there's. I don't like if I was 18 years old like a couple of generations ago and put as much of a percentage of my income as I do in the stock market back then, I would be set for retirement, guaranteed. I have near $4,000 in the stock market right now at 18 years old. Um, and I don't know, this guy's yelling at me, but he's not going for it either, so whatever. I don't care. Um, but so I am trying to be wise about my money. I'm trying to, like I'm trying to put my money in the stock market because I feel like that's a wise financial thing to do. But also, I feel like it's very clear that there is a recession or depression or like I don't a bad time in the economy coming very soon because that's just the only way that this could work. Like that's the only way this will ever end up. If you continue paying your workers the same and not changing anything and then increasing the prices, you're no one's going to be able to afford your products at a certain point. That's just how this works. So you either start paying people more or lower the prices of your products. And for some reason they just refuse to do either of them. It's not that just pick one. Like yeah, maybe okay. Like maybe your profits will decrease a little bit, when you start paying people more or lower your prices. Like, your profits will decrease for that year. And of course, that's the worst thing that could ever happen in the entire world for like your profits go down for 1 year. Um, I hate I hate the stock market because everything is just focused on short-term growth instead of long-term growth because anything that hurts you a little bit in the short term that benefits you in the long term gets punished, and anything that benefits you in the short term and helps you in the long term gets rewarded. So because people just want to see the price go up, so as soon as the price goes down, it keeps going down and down and down, and then it hurts everyone. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. And when the stock price goes up, more people invest in it, and it helps the business. It helps the CEO, the one guy. But like, you want like you should want the business to do well in the long term. You should want the business to be sustainable and continue to be profitable over a long period of time. Not just a bunch of money right now and then, next year we'll do it again. you know, we'll just keep like, we'll just keep doing short term fixes because that makes us all of the money right now. And we'll keep just making all of the money right now instead of putting a little bit of money off to the side. Like, I'm not explaining this well. Just short-term fixes over and over and over again. Instead of just investing in a long-term fix. Because the long-term fix would cost you a little bit in the short term, and that's the worst thing that could ever possibly happen in the world, according to investors. I don't Because look, I'm investors. Like, don't get me wrong. I have invested in the stock market, and I see myself engaging in this fallacy. Like every time the stock market goes down, just like today, my portfolio was down what 0.43%, I think, and I was like, oh man, I lost some money, and I was upset about it. Even though like I can't be up every day. That's not how it works. Um, I don't know. Um, it's just like I've been in the stock market for a really long time. Um, like I got into it because of my parents when I was like 13. I started like learning about it. I asked them to put money in for me. Um, and I made some good investments. I made some money. Um, but even then, at like 13 years old, I didn't understand why everything was focused on short term. I was planning on investing in long term. And now that I have a little bit more access to it and like the ability to invest more short term, like I get it, you know? I get why you want the number to go up in the short term and how that's more satisfying than just like numbers going up little by little most of the time. Um but again, if it's going to hurt you in the long run, uh, if it's going to hurt you in the long run, don't do it. Like I don't sometimes it's okay to make an investment in the future instead of just something for right now. I don't know. So, I'm sort of like running out of things to say. I feel like I've got all of it, but I'll take it till the end of game regardless. I just repeat things a lot. That's how I talk. So, um I don't know. I just like Staples is increasing the prices and not increasing my wages, and it's making me upset. That's the crux of it. Don't go to Staples because that's so blatant. They're not even like I don't. Don't go to Staples. It isn't good for anyone. I work at Staples and it's horrible. Um, not like it's not the worst job in the world. Just like in theory, like it's not like it's super like physically demanding or they ask extreme hours of me or anything. It's just like it's just that I'm not getting like pay increases fairly. Because also $12 an hour isn't the worst. I mean, it's not like I'm getting paid actual minimum wage, but like a lot of my coworkers that are adults working there, like don't have a car. Like they take the bus to work because they can't afford a car. You know, like I feel like that's not. I feel like it's not a great indicator. The fact that they like do their shopping at Staples, not all of their shopping, but like they shop at Staples specifically because first of all they get a 10% employee discount, and second of all because a lot of the time it's like not worth the extra bus trip to like go to the store. I feel like that's important. I feel like they just upped 1,200 items by 10, 15, 20%. That completely negates the employee discount, and even at that it's just overpriced. So I don't know. I just like um oh, I hit the whatever. Um Surrender vote. I don't think we're getting it anywhere. Oh well. Okay. Okay. Um. Anyway. Um. But I feel like it's hurting them the most is when you say like when you just completely negate an employee discount when those employees are barely scraping by in the first place, and then on top of that, it's like 10% more for um like just normal customers, anyways. Like I don't. It makes me really upset because it's so preventable, but I know that nothing is going to change. I know no one is going to change anything about anything. So just all that's going to happen is we enter like a recession, depression. I don't. Is there a difference? I really don't. Recession is a less severe depression, but um, we enter a period of economic, like, the economy is going down, economic downturn. Yeah, like we enter a period of not everything is going up, now things are going down. Um, and it's so preventable, but everyone just has too much pride. Staples isn't even a public company. That's the thing too, is most of the companies doing it are doing it to boost their stock price. Staples is just corporate greed of like the CEOs and whatever, because like because they're not even on the stock, like they're not listed as a public company, they're a private company. So they don't have any investors to cater to. They don't have any like particular reason to be going up, like to need to be going up year over year, like other big companies do, just because they want their stock price to go up because they get extra money from investors. I mean, everything just comes down to money, but I just don't even like. I don't. You want more and more money, and like, because why? I'd also like some money. Like, I don't. I'm stupid. I don't even know what I'm on about, honestly. I just like. You want money, but at a certain point, does. Like, when you have, like, billions of dollars, what does that mean? What does more money mean? It means, like, the number goes up. But does it actually mean any more than that? Because you're not spending billions of dollars. You know? Like, I don't. Or even millions. Like, okay, you buy your McMansion, and then what's next? Like, um, you buy your McMansion, you get some cool cars, and then what? Like, at a certain point, there's, like, just making it. There's, like, middle class, you're doing fine. There's, you're wealthy. And then there's just, I don't know what to do with my money anymore because money doesn't mean anything. And at that point, like, if you have essentially infinite money to work with, like, again, no human being can spend $1 billion. Like, that's just not, like, Elon Musk could never spend all of the money that he has right now. It's not possible. Unless he's, like, acquiring businesses, but at that point, like, again, you're not, like, buying items. You can't buy $1 billion worth of items. Like, there is a certain point where it's just, I want the number to go up. At a certain point, it isn't, like, it doesn't mean anything. It's just a number. Why are you taking money from people where it does mean something? It means, do I get to eat a meal I actually want today? Or do I need to save money so I can't do that? Can I buy new clothes? Can I afford a car? Can I afford a house? Like, there are a lot of people where it matters a lot. Oh, that was dumb. Like, I don't understand why people who have gotten to the point where money doesn't mean anything anymore, because you would never be able to feasibly buy items. Like, you would never feasibly be able to buy $1 billion worth of items. Like, I don't understand how you could take money from someone who needs it when that amount of money is so minimal to you. It means nothing to you. When you're at that point of money, like, a couple of $1,000s means nothing to you. Even a couple $1,000,000 means nothing to you if you have a billion. I don't know. It makes me upset. Because I don't really like to get political, but I don't even necessarily think that I didn't like anyone in this game. Well, it was fine. I still got a B minus. Okay. I don't know. I just like I I don't get it. I don't like being political, but I don't even feel like that's political. I don't think anyone likes extreme corporate greed and taking money from people that need it and artificially inflating prices just because. I don't think anyone likes that, regardless of your political stance. I don't think that's a controversial take. So, I'm putting it out there just to say I am seeing this firsthand. My theory is that there's just little to no actual progress happening, so you need to artificially inflate your profits by just inflating the prices. But it's going to backfire so badly and hurt everyone. So it makes me upset that it's happening. But, okay, there's my rant. It wasn't the most concise thing. I apologize. And there's another one I have to remake as well because I liked the topic that I was talking about and the things that I had to say, but again, you couldn't hear me over my game. So, this wasn't the best, most concise video. Probably will be unpleasant if anyone wants to watch it because I ramble and go in circles and don't make sense a lot of the time. Who cares? I don't. I'm just recording it for the sake of recording it. Honestly, for the sake of saying I told you so. Okay, so that's all for this one. These games were kind of bad. I wish they were better games to post and show, but oh well. I'll see you guys in the next one, if it happens. Goodbye.